We spend so much time asking the wrong questions. We ask, what should I do to succeed? Or how do I get ahead? We're obsessed with the what and the how, but rarely do we stop to ask the only question that actually matters, why? The people who get ahead in life, truly ahead, aren't the ones with the most impressive resumes or the busiest schedules. They're the ones who know why they're doing what they're doing. They're the ones who wake up in the morning with a sense of direction, not just a list of tasks. Purpose isn't some abstract concept reserved for the lucky few. It's something we all need. It's not found in a job title, a salary bracket, or a degree. It's found in the clarity of knowing what you stand for and where you're trying to go. There's a reason people burn out even while doing work that on paper looks amazing. It's not the workload, it's the absence of meaning. You can only go so far chasing results before your spirit asks for something deeper. When you don't know why you're running, eventually you stop. But if you do know your why, you can run farther, last longer, and lead better. A person with a strong sense of why will always outperform a person who's simply chasing the next opportunity. Why? Because the person with purpose makes decisions faster. They say no to distractions more easily. They know the difference between a step forward and a detour. Purpose becomes a filter. It helps you say, this is for me, and that is not. It gives your time direction. It gives your work energy. It makes your effort sustainable. You can see it in great leaders, artists, entrepreneurs, teachers, anyone who's building something that lasts. They don't start with a business model. They don't start with tactics. They start with belief. Belief that what they're doing matters. Belief that they're not just making money, they're making a difference. That's what makes people follow them. That's what makes them resilient when things go wrong. It's not that they're lucky or fearless. It's that their reason is stronger than their resistance. This is true in any arena: career, relationships, personal growth. If your goal is just to be successful, you'll spend your life chasing other people's definitions of success. And even if you catch up to it, you might realize you were climbing the wrong ladder all along. But if your goal is to live with purpose, then success becomes a byproduct, not the prize, but the outcome of living in alignment. Most people start with what they want to do. But what if we flipped it? What if instead we asked, why do I want to do it? When your reason is clear, your role becomes adaptable. You're not married to a specific job or industry. You're committed to a mission. And missions can be pursued from 1,000 angles. That's the freedom of clarity. It's not about limiting yourself, it's about anchoring yourself. Purpose doesn't mean you have to change the world in some grand, dramatic way. It might mean being the kind of person who uplifts others. It might mean showing up with integrity. It might mean helping one person believe in themselves. Small purposes are still powerful. The size of the impact doesn't matter. The sincerity does. When you know your why, the path may twist, but you never feel lost because you're not attached to outcomes. You're guided by principle. And that's the kind of direction that never goes out of style. That's how people weather storms. They don't just adapt, they persist. Because purpose makes you durable. We live in a world that values results, titles, trophies, numbers, but those things fade. They lose relevance. Purpose, on the other hand, compounds. The more you live by it, the stronger it gets. It connects your past to your future. It makes even painful experiences valuable because everything becomes part of your story, not just the good parts. That kind of mindset changes how you show up. You stop asking, what's in it for me, and start asking, what does this allow me to give? This is the paradox. When you focus on purpose, you actually go further than when you focus only on success. Because success comes and goes, but meaning sticks. Purpose is what people remember you for. It's what you build a legacy on. It's what brings people to you, not because of what you do, but because of who you are. The people who get ahead in life don't wait for purpose to show up. They choose it. They ask hard questions. They reflect, they dig, and then they decide, this is what I'm going to live for. This is what I'm going to fight for. Not because it's easy, but because it's real. And once you have that, Once you truly know why you're doing what you're doing, everything changes. Your choices become simpler, your actions become bolder, and your life starts to move not in a frantic sprint, but with steady, unstoppable momentum. Because now you're not just chasing the next thing. You're building something that matters. You don't need all the answers to get ahead in life. You need one answer. Why? Answer that, and the rest will follow. We're taught from a young age that the key to getting ahead in life is building skills. Learn more, work harder, get better. And while those things do matter, we've misunderstood something critical. Skills alone don't move you forward. People do. The relationships you build, the trust you earn, and the way you make others feel, those are the real engines of progress. We live in a world obsessed with performance metrics. We collect degrees, certifications, and experience like trophies, hoping they'll speak loud enough for us. But what we often forget is that most doors in life aren't opened by resumes, they're opened by people. People recommend you. People advocate for you. People decide whether to follow you, support you, trust you. And those decisions aren't based on how skilled you are. They're based on how you show up. There's a simple truth that gets overlooked. You can't lead, inspire, or influence anyone if you don't first connect with them. It's not what you know. It's not even who you know. It's how you treat who you know. It's the quality of your relationships that makes the difference, not the quantity. One person who believes in you, who fights for you, who stands by you, is worth more than 100 casual contacts or social media followers. Getting ahead in life isn't a solo act. It's not something you climb like a ladder. It's something you build like a bridge. And bridges aren't built with skills alone. They're built with empathy, integrity, and generosity. They're built by showing up for people consistently, by listening, by being the kind of person who lifts others, not just themselves. Some of the most talented people in the world never get the chance to lead, not because they aren't capable, but because no one wants to follow them. Why? Because talent without trust is a dead end. And trust isn't earned through perfection. It's earned through presence, through being honest, reliable, human. When people feel safe around you, when they feel seen and valued, they'll walk with you through anything. But if they don't, no amount of brilliance can compensate for that absence. In every environment, corporate, creative, personal, the same principle holds. People will remember how you made them feel long after they forget what you did. We remember encouragement. We remember kindness. We remember those who stood up for us, who gave us a shot, who believed in us before we believed in ourselves. And we never forget those who made us feel small, no matter how skilled they were. It's easy to get caught up in the illusion of independence. We like to think we're self-made, that we've pulled ourselves up with sheer effort. But if you look closer, you'll always find someone who made space for you. Someone who taught you, supported you, challenged you, someone who opened a door you couldn't have opened on your own. We don't succeed in isolation. We succeed in community. So if you want to get ahead, don't just sharpen your skills, deepen your relationships, take a genuine interest in others, ask more questions than you answer. Be curious, not just competent. Competence will get you noticed, but connection will get you chosen. And being chosen, whether for a job, a project, a friendship, or a leadership role, depends far more on trust than on talent. What's powerful about this is that it doesn't require perfection. You don't need to be the smartest person in the room. You just need to be someone others trust to bring their full selves into the room. Someone who listens without judgment. Someone who gives credit, shares the spotlight, and shows humility. These are not soft skills. These are human skills. And they're often the hardest to master. Think about the people you admire most. Chances are, it's not just because of what they can do, but how they made you feel. It's probably because they led with character. Because they didn't just teach or perform or execute, they connected, they inspired, they made others better. That's what makes someone unforgettable. The irony is, the higher you go in life, the less it becomes about your individual performance, and the more it becomes about your influence on others. The best leaders aren't the ones with the most answers. They're the ones who create environments where others can thrive. The most respected professionals aren't the ones who work the longest. They're the ones who invest in people, even when there's no immediate return. And the most successful teams aren't built on the backs of rock stars. They're built on a foundation of trust. This isn't just good philosophy, it's good strategy. When you build strong relationships, you create a network of advocates. People who will speak your name in rooms you're not in. People who will bring you into opportunities, not because you asked, but because they want to. That's something no LinkedIn post or certificate can guarantee. So yes, get good at what you do, take pride in your craft, but remember that skill is only half the equation. The other half is connection. Who you are matters just as much as what you can do. And when people see both competence and character, they lean in. They want to work with you. They want to follow you. They want to help you win because they know you do the same for them. In the end, people are the multiplier. They're the ones who lift your ceiling. They are the reason your effort turns into impact. So don't just work on your strengths. Work on your relationships. Show up with heart, with humility, with the willingness to serve. That's how trust is built. That's how movements begin. And that's how, without even realizing it, you find yourself not just ahead, but surrounded by people who want to see you win. Because in this life, it's not about being the best in the room, it's about bringing out the best in others. And those who do that, they always move forward. Not just quickly, but meaningfully. Not just alone, but together. And we live in a world that celebrates intensity. We cheer for the overnight success, the dramatic comeback, the viral moment. We're drawn to extremes, people who sprint, hustle, grind. But when you really look at the people who have built meaningful, lasting success, you'll find something very different. It's not the explosive moments that changed everything. It's the quiet, repeated actions that no one saw. It's not intensity that moves the needle over time. It's consistency. We're conditioned to think that getting ahead means pushing harder than everyone else. But the truth is, anyone can push hard for a day. Anyone can stay up late once, hit a big goal once, deliver an incredible performance once. But getting ahead in life isn't about what we can do once. It's about what you do every day when no one's watching. It's about what you repeat, not what you achieve in bursts. Think about the people you admire most, not for a single accomplishment, but for who they are, for the life they've built. I guarantee they didn't get there through a single act of brilliance. They got there through commitment, through choosing to show up even on the days they didn't feel like it, through doing the small things so well, so often, that eventually the big things came naturally. Consistency creates trust. When people know you'll show up, when they see that your words and actions align over time, they begin to believe in you. Not just in your skill, but in your reliability, in your presence, in your values. And trust, once built, opens every door that talent alone can. There's a reason habits matter more than motivation. Motivation is a spark. It's exciting. It's powerful. But it's temporary. It comes and goes. Habits are the infrastructure that keeps you moving when motivation disappears. If you only act when you feel inspired, you'll stop every time things get hard. But when your actions are tied to a deeper purpose, and when you made those actions a regular part of your life, you don't need to feel inspired. You just need to follow through. Most people overestimate what they can do in a week and underestimate what they can do in a year. We rush toward outcomes and miss the process. We try to transform our lives overnight, and when it doesn't work, we give up. But real transformation doesn't happen in a moment. It happens in the 1,000 small decisions that no one ever sees. It happens in the commitment to keep going after the excitement fades. This is why discipline is more important than intensity. Discipline is about doing the right thing, especially when it's boring or uncomfortable. It's about choosing growth over ease, direction over distraction. Intensity is flashy. Discipline is quiet. But it's the quiet things that build strength. It's the daily reps, the follow-up calls, the honest conversations that kept promises. That's where progress lives. We often think that consistency is about routines, and yes, routines help. But deeper than that, consistency is about integrity. It's about being the same person across different contexts. It's about treating people with the same respect whether they can do something for you or not. It's about staying grounded in your values, even when it would be easier to compromise. That kind of consistency is rare, and it's magnetic. It's easy to be intense when everything is going well, when the project is exciting, when the spotlight is on, when you're winning. But what about when things aren't going well, when progress is slow, when nobody is watching? That's the test. That's when you find out who's truly committed, because consistency isn't tested in success. It's revealed in struggle. Some of the most important breakthroughs in life happen quietly. They're not dramatic. They don't come with a moment of glory. They come after days, weeks, months of showing up and getting a little better each time. And then one day something clicks. You realize that you're stronger than you were, that people trust you more, that your work has improved, that you've built something real. And the best part is, you didn't need to sprint, you just needed to keep walking in the right direction. Getting ahead in life isn't about massive effort, it's about consistent effort in the right direction. It's about aligning your daily actions with your long-term values. It's about being dependable, not dramatic, about growing steadily, not frantically. When you do that, you may not move as fast as others in the beginning, but over time, you'll pass them because you'll still be moving long after they've burned out. This kind of consistency builds not just external success, but internal confidence. When you know you can count on yourself, you stop needing validation from others. You stop chasing shortcuts. You start focusing on what really matters because you trust your own pace, and that kind of self-trust is one of the most powerful things a person can have. We live in a world that's hungry for intensity, but what we need more of is steadiness. We need people who are reliable, people who mean what they say, people who commit and then follow through, not for applause, but because they said they would. That kind of consistency changes teams, companies, families, lives. So if you want to get ahead in life, don't ask how you can go faster, ask how you can stay steady. Don't ask how you can make the biggest move, ask how you can take the next right step every day. Because in the end, it's not what you do once that defines you, it's what you do consistently. Intensity might get you attention, but consistency earns you respect. And over time, that respect turns into trust. That trust turns into influence, and that influence, that's how you build a life that's not just impressive, but meaningful. The ones who get ahead are rarely the loudest or the fastest. The ones who never stop moving. The ones who show up when it matters and when it doesn't seem to. The ones who know that the path to significance isn't a sprint, it's a rhythm. And once you find yours, you'll realize you don't have to chase anything. You just have to keep walking with purpose. Failure is one of the most misunderstood experiences in life. We treat it like a verdict, like it's the final word on our potential. Something to fear, something to avoid, something that defines us. But the truth is, failure is not a sentence. It's a signal, it's a message, a moment of feedback. It's a teacher, not a punishment. And once we understand that, everything changes. Most of us grow up believing that failure is something bad, that it means we weren't good enough, that it's something to be ashamed of. So we work hard to avoid it. We play it safe. We lower the bar just enough to ensure we won't fall. But here's the irony. Avoiding failure doesn't move us forward. It traps us. Because the only way to grow is to stretch beyond what you know. And stretching always comes with risk. You don't learn much from the things that go right the first time. Success feels good, but it rarely teaches you anything deep. It's failure that opens your eyes. It forces reflection. It asks questions that success never will. Why didn't that work? What do I need to see that I'm not seeing? Who do I need to become to get through this? These are the questions that shape us, not the questions of winning, but of struggling. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of it. No one who ever achieved anything meaningful did it without failing, often and sometimes publicly, but they didn't let failure stop them. They listened to it. They paid attention to what it had to say, and then they got back up with more clarity, more humility, and more strength than before. We live in a culture that idolizes the highlight reel. We see the award, the promotion, the final product, but we rarely see the missteps, the doubt, the rejection letters, the dead ends. We don't talk enough about the nights people question themselves, the moments when they thought about giving up. But those moments are part of the story. They are the story. Because getting ahead in life isn't about avoiding failure, it's about how you relate to it. When you fail, it's tempting to internalize it, to make it personal. I failed, so I must be a failure. But those are not the same thing. One is an event, the other is an identity. And the moment you confuse the two, you give failure more power than it deserves. Failure is something that happens. It's a moment, not a label. And if you can learn to separate who you are from what happened, you free yourself to try again with more wisdom and less fear. Some of the most powerful people you'll ever meet aren't the ones who've had it easy. They're the ones who've hit the ground and figured out how to rise. They're the ones who have a relationship with failure, not as an enemy, but as a companion. Not because they like it, but because they've learned from it, because they know failure doesn't diminish them, it develops them. There's a certain resilience that only failure can teach. You can't learn it in theory. You can't download it from a podcast. You have to experience it. You have to sit in it long enough to understand what it's trying to tell you, and you have to resist the urge to run from it too quickly, because sometimes the most important lessons are buried in the discomfort. You just have to be willing to stay long enough to find them. It's not about glorifying failure. It's about not fearing it. Fear of failure kills more dreams than failure ever will. It stops people before they even start. It makes them aim lower. It convinces them they're not ready. But here's the thing. You're never fully ready. No one is. And if you wait until you're certain, you'll spend your life waiting. Getting ahead in life means being willing to move forward even when you might fall. Failure, when embraced, leads to growth. But failure, when feared, leads to paralysis. The difference isn't the outcome, it's your mindset. Do you see it as evidence that you're not good enough, or as proof that you're doing something brave, something that matters? The people who grow are the ones who don't take failure personally. They take it seriously, but not as an opportunity. There's something incredibly freeing about accepting failure as part of the process. It takes the pressure off perfection. It allows you to experiment, to create, to lead with curiosity instead of fear. It invites you to play a longer game, one where the goal isn't to never fall, but to always rise. And perhaps more importantly, when you're not afraid to fail, you give others permission to do the same. You create environments where people can take risks, ask questions, admit mistakes. That kind of culture doesn't just foster growth, it creates trust. Because now people know that failure isn't fatal, that it's safe to be real, to stretch, to try, and when people feel safe, they do their best work. Failure will always be part of the equation. But it doesn't have to be the villain. It can be a guidepost, a mentor, a mirror. It can show you where you're not aligned, where you need to adjust, where you've outgrown your current mindset. That's not defeat. That's direction. Getting ahead in life means having the courage to face failure with open eyes and an open heart. To treat it not as a stop sign, but as a signpost. To ask what it's trying to teach you. To be curious instead of ashamed, because in the end, it's not the failures that define you, it's what you do with them. So if you've fallen, good. It means you tried. If it hurt, good. It means you cared. And if you're still standing, or even if you're crawling forward, then you're doing better than you think. You're learning, adapting, growing. And that's how progress happens. Not in a straight line, but through trial and error, through falling and getting up again and again. Failure is not the end. It's part of the beginning. And when you stop fearing it, you start moving. And when you start moving, no failure can hold you back, not for long. We spend so much of our lives trying to answer the question, what do you want to be? We hear it from the time we're kids. We hear it in school, in job interviews, in conversations with family. And over time, we learn to craft an answer, a profession, a title, a goal. But somewhere along the way, we stop asking the better question, why? Why do you want to do that? Why does it matter to you? Why does it light a fire in your soul? Your why is the starting point for everything that truly lasts. It's not just your motivation, it's your foundation. It's the core belief that drives what you do and how you do it. Without it, success is empty. You can achieve all the right things on paper, get the job, earn the money, build the resume, but feel completely lost inside. Because the things you're doing aren't anchored to anything meaningful. And when the winds change, and they always do, there's nothing steady beneath your feet. That's the trap so many people fall into. They chase results before they define reasons. They pursue status before they understand purpose. And the danger in that is not just that you might fail. The danger is that you might succeed at something that doesn't fulfill you. You might reach the top of a ladder only to realize it was leaning against the wrong wall. Your why is what gives your life direction. It's not just a passion or a hobby. It's your cause. It's your reason for getting out of bed when things are hard. It's the thing that keeps you anchored when everything else feels uncertain. And it doesn't have to be grand or world-changing. It just has to be real. It has to be honest. Something that matters to you. And the challenge is we often confuse our why with our what. We say, I want to be a doctor, I want to run a business, I want to make 6 figures, but those are outcomes. The real power comes when you ask yourself why those things matter. Why do you want to help people heal? Why do you want to lead? Why do you want to create something new? When you start from that deeper place, your actions begin to align with your beliefs, and that's when life starts to feel right. Here's the truth. People don't follow you because of what you do. They follow you because of why you do it. They connect with the belief behind the action. They respond to your clarity, your conviction, your consistency, because when you know your why, you stop chasing approval, you stop trying to impress, and you start showing up with purpose, with focus, with something people can believe in. And this applies to everything, not just leadership or business. It applies to relationships, to family, to the way you treat strangers. When your actions are aligned with your values, people feel it, it builds trust, it builds meaning, and it allows you to contribute in a way that's bigger than just yourself. But finding your why isn't something that happens in a moment. It's a process. It's about paying attention to your own story, looking back at the moments that shaped you, the times you felt most alive or most hurt or most inspired. It's about asking what makes you angry, what breaks your heart, what gives you joy, because often your why is hiding in plain sight. It's woven into the fabric of who you've always been. Sometimes we discover our why through pain, through loss, through failure. And sometimes we find it through curiosity, through following the thread of something that just won't let go of us. Either way, it comes when we slow down long enough to listen. Not to the noise around us, but to the truth within us. And once you find it, even if it's still a little unclear, you start to feel a shift. You start to notice that the things that used to drain you now feel different. You're more resilient, more focused. Because now you're not just working for a paycheck, you're working for a purpose. You're not just chasing goals, you're living a mission. And that changes everything. Getting ahead in life isn't just about productivity. It's about alignment. It's about making sure the life you're building is actually your life, not a version of success someone else sold you. When you know your why, you become more selective about what you say yes to. You stop comparing yourself to everyone else. You stop chasing shortcuts. Because you're building something real, something rooted. That doesn't mean life becomes easier. In fact, sometimes it gets harder. But now you have something to hold on to, something to guide your decisions, something that makes the setbacks worth it. Because when you are working for something you believe in, failure doesn't stop you. It refines you. It sharpens your focus. It reminds you why you started. Your why is also what allows you to inspire others. Not by being perfect, but by being clear. Clarity is magnetic. People will be drawn to you, not because you have all the answers, but because you have a reason. Because you're not just drifting. You're anchored. And in a world that's constantly changing, that kind of steadiness is rare. And here's what's beautiful. Your why doesn't have to look like anyone else's. It doesn't have to impress anyone. It just has to be true. It might be about helping people grow, or protecting something sacred, or building a legacy, or creating beauty in the world. Whatever it is, once you find it, protect it. Nurture it. Let it guide you. Because everything else, what you do, how you do it, who you do it with, should flow from that place. So don't start with what. Don't even start with how. Start with why. Ask yourself the hard question. Give yourself permission to not have a perfect answer yet. But commit to searching, to listening, to reflecting, because once you know your why, the rest starts to make sense. The most powerful people in the world aren't the ones with the biggest platforms. They're the ones who lead with purpose, who act with intention, who live their why even when no one is watching. And that kind of life, it doesn't just get ahead. It pulls others forward with it. And that's the kind of success that truly lasts.